1 Corinthians 13:4-8. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. Welcome to our program, Love Speaks. Today, we focus on the phrase, love hopes all things. Hope is not something that comes naturally to us. It is a gift from God. We hope because there is something promised, something to hope for. Here is a lovely text to consider. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. It is amazing that God wants to give us hope. Hope enables us to see beyond the present crisis, to know that something better awaits us. During the last World War, a number of soldiers and other officers were caught by the enemy. They were each locked up in small cells with no means of communication with the world. They knew nothing about what lay around them. You know how some of them survived? They had hopes that one day the war would end and that they would be freed. If they did not have this hope, they would have just given up and lay down on the cold cement floor and died. What was the use of living? Might as well give up. But did they? No. They clung persistently to the idea that the day would come when they would be freed. And the day did come, and they were liberated. Inevitably, troubles come to spoil the tranquility of the home. Sickness, money problems, bad news, loss of a job, you name it. The problems loom before us, and there seems to be no way out. But then we see a glimmer of hope, and this tiny ray enables us to lift our head and wait. Wait for a solution. Wait for a change in circumstance. Welcome once more. It's a happy time when we can be together and talk and listen and share experiences. That's what helps make life beautiful. I'd like for you to meet Dr. Virginia Smith. She said last time she was a wide reader, but she is also a writer. Virginia, can you tell us a little something about the books that you have written?
Well, I had a job where I did a lot of writing. It wasn't under my name, but it was in relationship to children's ministries. And so I had always wanted to write. From the time I was a child, I wanted to write, but I didn't have anything to say. I had to live for quite a while.
That's one of the dreadful moments for a writer.
Yes,
you know?
when you don't have anything to say. But now that I'm old, I have lots of things to say. I have lots of books I want to write, and so I'm hurrying to do as many as I can. So I had an interesting experience last year and the year before. I bought my husband a birthday and Christmas gift from Storyworth. and you can find Storyworth online. And you buy a subscription. It's for a year, and they send you topics, and you're supposed to write a story every week.
Oh.
And then at the end of the year, then you get a hardbound book. And friends showed us their books. They were beautiful. And I thought, what a good idea. Calvin has so many memories. He needs to put these down and save them for the family. So I got him that membership, and the suggestions started coming, and he's like, I don't want to write. I don't want to write any stories. So finally I said, okay, you tell me the stories and I'll write them. So he told me stories and I wrote them down, and we got several that way. And then he's like, oh no, let's not do that this week. It's too much. And so then I just started putting in family stories and things that I remembered that he had told. And so we got down to almost the end of the year. There was 2 weeks left. And then, you know, that's the cutoff. You can't send any more after that. And so then he's like, did you put in this? Did you put in this? How about this and this and this? He got real interested. And so for 2 weeks, we frantically wrote all the things that he was thinking about. And so I think we got 42 chapters in the book. We didn't get 52. And so then I thought, well, this is nice. Now he's going to get this hardbound book, and I'm sure that there's a few family members that would like to have a copy. So I think I'll buy 10. And then I went online and discovered not only did he not get one free, but every single one of them cost $43.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, I'm not playing that game. I reformatted the book and I printed it here in Thailand.
Which one was this?
It's My Life Stories by Calvin Lloyd Smith.
Do you have a copy?
Yes.
I should look at that.
Okay.
So there's always hope, huh?
There's always hope. There is also interesting stories in our lives that show what God has done for us. We should remember those things.
Yes.
When we remember what He's done in the past, it gives us hope for the future.
Exactly.
You think of David when he confronted Goliath. Why did he think he could fight Goliath? Because God had done so much for him in the past.
Right.
And so we can be sure that God will help us with positive things that we need to do.
So remembering the past gives us hope for the future. Yes. Okay, our topic today is hope, because we need to know something about hope, because in life anything can happen. Crises, problems, troubles, all kinds of difficulties. How can we survive them? We're told that many people would have died during a crisis if they would have died, except that they had hope and they survived. Yes. Would you like to share an experience when hope helped you to live through that experience?
3 years ago, my husband was in the hospital with COVID, and he had passed his 80th birthday. And so the doctors and nurses called me. They called my daughter, who's a nurse. I'm sure they talked to Calvin as well, and they said, he's not going to make it. But, you know, I had no trouble having hope, because I know about the Adventist lifestyle, that we have better chances to survive a long time if we're following God's way of living.
Right.
And sure enough, he came through fine.
That's amazing. That's amazing. My husband went through an experience that really changed our lives drastically. And it happened, everything happened so fast, we didn't even have time to think about what was going on. You know, we were working in the office and then he just collapsed, and I was wondering what would happen. It happened 2 times, and as I was writing the family, I noticed the pattern, and I told him, you know, a third something like this is going to happen again, we better go home and to the Philippines and have a checkup before anything happens. You know what happened? We traveled for about 5 days. On the 5th day, we reached the Philippines and asked for a room because he was wanting to undergo general checkup. But they said we can't do it now because it's going to be Sabbath tomorrow. The doctors will be off. Maybe we can start on Sunday. So we asked for a room. They gave us a room. And while in that room, the stroke did happen, you know. But while we were traveling, I was just hoping and hoping against hope that we would make it to the hospital, you know. And we made it. And 2 hours after we got into that hospital, he had the stroke, you know. So during those times, you know how hope can sustain you is really unexplainable. You know, you have that peace that, yes, everything will be all right. Yes, God will hear our prayers. Yes, God knows what is best, and He will restore him. And that is exactly what happened. But you know, if I hadn't had hope, I don't know what would have happened. I would have been crying and sulking and worrying. But because there is hope, I was calm all throughout that experience until he left the hospital. And God, I must say that God is so gracious and kind. And my husband lived for 18 years after that first stroke. And I believe that those 18 years were bonus years for both of us, because during those years he had to retire and then we were together. Much of the time he didn't have to travel, he didn't have to work, but stayed with me at home. So hope sees us through these difficulties. As long as we know that there's a God in heaven, as long as we believe that He wants the best for us, we can keep on hoping. And this hope is a strong support for us through whatever difficulty we may have.
Most of the time, I feel like God spoils us. We get so much help, we get so many good things in our lives. But if something bad happens, we need to just remember we're living in a bad world. Bad things happen to everybody. If nothing but good happened to the people on God's side, what would happen to everybody's freedom of choice?
Exactly.
Be gone.
Gone.
Because people would just choose to be on God's side so that they got the good. And so God allows bad things to happen, but not very often for most of us.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm happy to feel like a spoiled child.
You know, I smiled when you said the word spoiled, because I thought I was the only one who said, you know, God really spoils me.
Oh, okay. Okay, just more affirmation of my idea.
Yes, it does make a lot of difference that we have a God, that we know a God. Because without Him, we're hopeless. I mean, what is there left? Nothing. Yes, so God gives us these experiences to strengthen our faith in Him and make us know Him better, understand His ways, and so we can learn to submit ourselves to Him.
I'd like to say something about faith.
Sure.
Because we think, well, if I have enough faith, you know, then this is going to happen. But actually, Martin Luther got it wrong. The righteous do not live by faith, not their faith. They live by the faithfulness of Jesus. That's the real definition, the real translation of the information.
We don't live by our faith.
Not our faith.
We live by the faith of
the
Jesus.
Faithfulness.
Faithfulness
He's
of
always
Jesus.
faithful to us. And our faith is a gift that is given to us. And of course it can grow as we experience life with Christ. But basically we're dependent on the faithfulness of Jesus.
Wow, and if we take time to talk about the faithfulness of Jesus, talk about the experiences in our lives when He showed His faithfulness, we've got a lot to talk about.
Oh, you know, every day, the littlest thing. I've lost something. I'm old, I lose things. You know, and I just say, Lord, you know where that is. And it shows up right away quick. So God is so good. He is so kind and gracious.
Yeah, since I lost my husband, you know, I used to depend so much on him. I was very dependent. Since I lost him, I just had to pray and say, Lord, I have to depend on you. I have nobody else in my life. Please guide me in every decision that I have to make. And even in the small things, I said, and in many of my experiences, I could see that the Lord was faithful and He kept His promise. I've made decisions that I thought were wrong, but they turned out to be the right decisions. Yeah.
Good.
Even about this project, you know.
Good.
I was wondering, I said, I used the expression, is it faith or folly? Because my my daughter asked me, Mom, are you acting by faith or folly? So I said, was this my foolishness? And then I said, show me whether this was really your way. And very clearly He would show me that it was His will.
Good. Good. And I hope your daughter learns from that.
Oh, yes. You know, my daughter and I, we exchanged so many experiences, and it's just very encouraging, you know, when she would say, Mom, I think it was really the Lord. I think it was the Lord who did it. And so I would say, yeah, couldn't be anything else. Very clear that it was the Lord's doing, it was the Lord's guidance. So whatever we go through in this life, let us never lose hope, because there is hope as long as there is God.
Yes, while there's life, there's hope.
That's
is
right.
the saying.
Yeah.
And you never know when around the next corner there may be something wonderful. So I'm always sorry when I hear that people are suicidal, because what are they going to miss? You know, what might have happened next? But we need to be kind to them and understand the stress that they're going through when they're feeling that way.
The sad thing is, they went through that stress and they lost hope.
And they settled for a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Exactly, yeah. Irrevocable. And yeah, that is really sad. So we need an anchor. We need hope.
We need hope.
We need hope. And
isn't hope almost synonymous with a positive attitude?
Yes, yes,
You know?
it is a positive attitude. So we don't think on the negative side. We think on the good side. We think on what good things will come out of an experience. Because there is no experience that comes to our life that doesn't serve a purpose. God says that. Everything that we go through is meant to teach us a lesson, or God is preparing something better. And so we just have to keep holding on, trusting in God, and exercising hope.
It's true.
Of course, we receive hope. Our hope is our hope grows through many ways. One thing that helps is our friends. You know, I had a friend. They were a couple. They had a big problem. Their daughter got sick, very sick, and they almost lost hope. They thought they would lose her. But they said that during that time, their friends were praying. Their families were praying. Even people who didn't know them, who knew about the case, were praying for them. And they said when they knew that people were praying for them, it gave them hope. And they believe that God would hear the prayers. And God did hear the prayers.
That's wonderful.
Yes. So if you have friends who are prayerful, who are thoughtful, you are certainly blessed. You have a blessing that will prove very useful to you during your stressful times. I feel sorry for Job, you know.
Oh, yes. Because he never did know what was going on.
Right.
God didn't tell him afterwards.
And look at the kind of friends that he had.
Oh, terrible.
It was terrible. But in this world, we must really thank God. We have true friends who care for us, and they are one of our means of support when things go wrong.
If we're in a bad situation, if we're under stress because of something that's going on, what do we lose if we expect the best out of that situation? Now, I think that when we have hope, when we're positive, then that brings all the other positive emotions with it and helps us to go through the situation. And sometimes it does turn out bad. And then we have to deal with that. But God is always there. He doesn't let anything happen to us that He can't help us through. So I think that hope is just the most important thing for us to have in life. Take a positive attitude, depend on God because He's helped you so much in the past. Expect that He's going to continue doing that, and He will not let you down.